You've seen the best cinematic camera techniques, the most professional LUTs to give your work that cinematic look, and best editing tricks to make your films pop. Yeah, but how do you actually make the film? How do you get all the people, the equipment, the locations together to make your film or other production actually happen? Well, that's why today I want to show you what I consider to be the most important tool for ensuring that your productions don't completely fall apart somewhere along the way. It's this guy, the production book. This is a production book for a film that I produced in college called Zomcom. I'm going to show you what's in it, how you can make your own, and why it's so important. Let's go. Your production book is just a binder full of all the documents that you're using for your film. From your script, to your storyboards, to your budget. It's everything that helps you keep track of the people, money, and equipment involved so that you don't have to keep it in your head. This baby can fit so much organization in it. And the very first document in here is surprisingly not the script, it's the treatment. This is a shorter description of your story, somewhere around 1 page long, along with the log line, just a 1-sentence description of your story. This step is great because you don't have to know exactly what each character is going to say and do at this point. You can just tell me that it's a story about a pair of flirtatious researchers who are too interested in each other to notice that they've stumbled into an underground laboratory that houses a dormant zombie pandemic. Yeah, I produced this before COVID. This treatment is also a good way to pitch your idea to people when you're asking them to give you your time or money. Now, the next document is the script. And you know what a script is. It's what people say, what they do, where they go, what happens. By the way, I put a little bit of tape over the contact info on this script just so as not to dox myself. The script is pretty straightforward, but there is a reason it looks like that. Screenwriters write scripts with this specific font, with this specific format, because when it's formatted this way, each page of script roughly equals 1 minute of final screen time. It's really useful. And then once you or your screenwriter has the script, you can convert it into the line script. So called because you draw a bunch of lines on it. Now there's a lot going on here, but basically, you or your producer or whoever is breaking down this script just has to underline everything in the script that needs to be there on the day of production. And there's a color coding system that the whole industry pretty much agrees on to make it clear what you've underlined and why. So for example, main cast members get underlined in red, props get underlined in purple, and extras get underlined in green. There's a template for script breakdowns that gives you the whole key and everything. I'll just link it in the description. And as you can see, this is also a good time to make notes on the script. Things that you're not sure whether you'll have to deal with and maybe need to talk about with the rest of the crew. Like here, where my producer has written, do we need a picture or visual representation of Dr. Hap so we know what he looks like? This is the kind of thing you want to know before you get on set. I find the line script really useful. It's how you make sure that you don't show up to film a car chase, for example, and realize you've forgotten the car. You might also notice some lines and numbers on the left. I'll come back to those. Now, once you're done lining your script, you can use it to create a script breakdown. This is where you take everything that you underlined and put it in lists by scene, so that when you go to film that scene, you can make sure, do we have all the cast? Yes. Do we have all the props? Yes, etc. For example, this is the breakdown for scene 4 of Zomcom. I knew which characters I needed, Gabe and Lucy. I knew I needed their faces to look bloody and beat up, so I put that in makeup. And I knew I wanted elevator music in the background, so that's in sound effects and music. This breakdown will be your friend later when you're figuring out what you need to bring to set on a certain day. And again, the template for the breakdown has spaces for all of this, so that you don't need to imitate all of this yourself. And here's a quick tip. Some projects don't need you to write out every single one of these documents. If you have an idea for a little comedy video with your friends, you probably don't need a full breakdown. Just go shoot it. These steps are for the films that actually need some production effort behind them. Now, you figured out what you need to shoot your movie, but how do you actually want it to look? Well, that's the job of the storyboard, and again, you probably know what these are. They're drawings usually done by the director of photography, or some combination, that visualize what the film should look like. A lot of early filmmakers don't bother with this, but I think it's so essential for communicating how you want your film to look. A lot of people also see the very high-quality storyboards that come out of Hollywood and think they don't have the artistic skills to do storyboards. Let me tell you, neither do I. These don't need to be fancy, they just need to communicate to your DP how you want the shots to look. I think mine look more Newgrounds than Hollywood, but they're just a tool to communicate something. And by the way, I'm giving you these in a certain order, but they don't have to be done in that order. I think I actually made these storyboards before I broke down the script. Now that you've got your storyboards, a lot of people find it helpful to go back into your script breakdown
and line it for shots. This means writing down on the left where each shot that you've planned starts and ends. For example, the first shot is this master shot that I planned in the storyboards, and then it breaks off into shots number 2, 3, and 4, which all cover the same action in the script. When you line a script for shots, you also divide each page into eighths, because it's a good way of showing how long each shot will last. Lining the script is often the job of the script supervisor. On smaller productions, you might not need to line for shots like this. We probably didn't need to on Zomcom, but it was a class requirement, and it's very useful for larger productions where there are a lot of people in the camera department. Now, I said that lining your script for shots was not always essential. This next part, in my opinion, is. This is the shot list. And it does what it sounds like. It's a list of all the shots that you need to get for your movie. They've got descriptions, shot size, like long shot or medium shot, day or night, interior or exterior, and the cast you need for them. You get it. I use shot lists on even the smallest of my projects, because invariably, if you don't, you will get an email from your editor saying, "Where is this one shot?" And you'll have a sinking feeling because you forgot to get it. Once you have your shot list, you can convert it into the shooting schedule. This is where you figure out how long it'll take to film everything, how many days you need to film for, and how to schedule it all. Now, as a benchmark, 1/8 of a page usually takes about 15 minutes to shoot, but of course, use your common sense as to when things are going to take longer to shoot. If a scene includes a complicated stunt, it's probably going to take some time to get that right. So factor in that extra time. Also make sure to budget at least an hour for setup, and don't forget lunch. A fed crew is a happy crew. Next item in the book are the lighting diagrams. This is really just a tool to communicate with your gaffer or whoever's doing your lighting as to how you want it to look on set. Again, we probably didn't need this for this film, but it was a class requirement and it did speed things up on set. Usually you would only need diagrams for very sophisticated lighting setups. There's a great website and app called Shot Designer for designing these. It's also in the description. Next is the budget, the part no one likes. But it's very important, especially if you're spending someone else's money. People like to see where their money's going. I should say the amounts in this budget are because our class was told to use actual industry rates for crew and equipment rental when making the budget. We actually got all of our crew and equipment for free because it was a student film. We did not end up spending that much on this short film. Okay, we're getting closer to actually shooting this thing. The next item is the location scouting form. This is handy when you're finding locations and you need all the info about them in one place. Like the address, and what kind of light you have there, and the fact that they're going to be mad if you disturb anything on the desks. This one isn't completely essential, but you're probably going to make notes on your locations anyway, and this is a good place to have them all in one place. Next, your casting call, and I have this one on paper because we did physical in-person auditions for our film, but even if your casting call only goes out online, it's good to put some effort into it. I see so many people saying, young white male needed for short film, but you really want to give your actors more information than that. Next, your location agreements. And this one is completely essential. This is a contract, basically, that says you have permission to film at a certain location at a certain time. You want to have the owner of each location sign it to make sure that you have permission to film there. This is absolutely essential because if you don't get this in writing, they can say on the day, I never said you could film here. Get it in writing. Next are the talent releases. They give you the right to use people's faces. It's actually not legal to profit off of someone's likeness without their permission, so you want to make sure to get these signed by all of your actors at some point. Most productions will actually keep a few blank releases with them on set, so if they accidentally catch a civilian who's recognizable in the background, they can just ask them to sign a release really quick, so they're safe. And now it's time to actually get shooting. It's time to send out the call sheet. Call sheets are usually vertical. I don't know why I printed this one horizontally. But the call sheet gets sent out to cast and crew the day before the shoot. It contains all the information on where to be, when, and for how long on the day of the shoot. And also the nearest hospital, just in case anything goes wrong. Call sheets often include maps, too, if the location is hard to find. And the last thing in this production book are the budget actuals. This is how much you actually ended up spending, whether you went over budget or under budget. Very important if you're spending someone else's money again. And again, these are made-up numbers in my case. We did not spend this much. And those are all the documents you need. Keep them together as you're doing pre-production, slap them into a binder, and put a nice cover on it. Your movie deserves a nice cover. This was all a pretty fast overview, but I'm going to leave some links in the description to as many of these documents as I can, so that you can have a look at them yourself, and maybe use them in your own productions. But leave me a comment also if there are any documents that you find super useful that I just didn't cover. And let me know also if I should go into more detail on any of these documents in future videos. Until then, drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more film and music stuff. I'm Leo Majors, and as I always say, prepare or beware.